A son for a son, he said.
No, I love her.
This is too much for her right now.
That's no son.
That's not a son. Girl, please. I love her so much.
Yeah.
Why do this to the nicest person on the show?
I know.
Good luck.
She's
Good
a definitely
acting.
good person.
And she gives it up.
We think?
How does he know?
He knows. He's looked a lot of rats right in the eye, and a rat never lies.
She has the rat eyes.
She's telling true.
Aww.
Brutal.
Hold him down.
My girl. No! Evan, turn it off.
Okay, Evan. Okay, Evan.
Okay, this is actually a good mother move. Grab your
get
other
the other
kid
kid out
and get
of
the
there.
hell out of there. Good move. They're busy. Oh, the sound!
Too much squelch. Too much squelch. Welcome back to the after show here on the Breakroom. The Targareyeans are back, baby. That family that would have the most awkward holiday dinner ever, with all the murder and the betrayal and the incest. What have we done, folks? Anyways, hit that graphic.
Yeah!
Da-da-da.
And
Oh, it's been so long. Talking Dragons is dead, but the after show is here, folks. Today we're talking about House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 1, A Son for a Son. Blood and cheese! What an ending, everyone, huh? If you're a non-book reader, you're like, why do they call it blood and cheese? They didn't explain that in the show. Did everyone else hear that, very interesting sound package they had during the death of the child?
Yeah.
That was gross.
It was horrible.
There's a lot of,
I know,
I'll never be
we're-
able to unhear it.
I can't, and I don't want to hear it ever again.
Also, can they get a sharper knife?
The rat catchers.
Yeah.
Not the best. Also, it's so crazy that during, I know this is a fictional place, but during this time, it's I catch rats. I can also kill a child.
Hey.
Whichever you need. I'm your man. I'm a jack of all trades.
When you got gambling debts, you've got to get,
Some would say a child is just a large rat. You know what I mean?
True. That is true.
We'll get into so much about this episode. I'm Brandon Barrick. Joining me today, it's the first of her name. It's Jessica Clemons.
Just to be, so there's no confusion, I'm a Valerian.
You're a Valerian?
I'm a Valerian.
You're not a Targaryen in this
I'm not a
scenario?
Targaryen. I'm not House. You know what? I'm in the background.
Well, okay.
I'm Laenor.
Okay.
I left, and I'm never coming back.
Okay.
you.
Also joining us today, he too hates the high towers. It's Zach Huddleston.
Right, I'm just an old graybeard who's seen too many winters. You know?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Too many winters. Okay, so we know there's a book about this whole show that explains where the show is going and all that stuff. And we're going to refrain from any spoilers about the story going forward, okay? And focus on what happens and what we see, what happens in these episodes. We'll talk about changes from the book, if that's interesting to any of you. Jessica and I have both read Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin.
Who is it by again?
George R.R. Martin? He let the dogs out, baby.
He got a dog in him. Actually, he
what?
doesn't have no dog in him because he hasn't finished that damn book.
No.
He ain't never gonna finish
Hey,
that book.
there's a Dumas post right now about a suspicious launch party happening in New Mexico with a giant dragon cake.
Seeing is believing.
Coming soon.
What's his art collective that's in New Mexico? Something Wolf?
Yeah.
Meow Wolf?
Meow Wolf.
Maybe it's just about that.
Oh, I thought you were implying that George R.R. Martin did Meow Wolf, and I was like, impressive.
No, he is.
Isn't he the
he's like
person
one of
that-
the funders.
Oh, is he?
Can you
Yeah.
triple check? For some reason, for a moment, I thought it was Guillermo del Toro, but I do think it's George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, I'm looking. Hold
I get my big men
He's
mixed
like one
up.
of their big benefactors, I think.
Chris Hemsworth is one of my benefactors, and I call him the funder from Down Under.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely related to them. Yeah, I need to go through this whole thing.
There
but
you go.
Zach is right.
I think Zach's also right. I've been to the one in Vegas. It was trippy. I was also very drunk, so I don't remember.
That'd be wild if he was going to surprise finish.
It could be coming soon. But anyways, we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon. Like I said, we won't spoil anything going forward. Zach has not read the book.
Correct.
That's why he doesn't wear a wig.
Can't read.
I hate reading, and I read all of this. And you know what? C+. It's rough. It's rough. The show is much better. I'm enjoying the show a lot. Well, the book, famously, this book is told. It's a collection. It's a history told by someone who's telling 4 other people's stories. So there's a lot of like situations where something happens in the book and it's told from different perspectives.
Unreliable narrator.
Unreliable, and you don't know which is real. But this show is canon and it sets what's real.
My least favorite appeal to the book is he'll be like, some people believe this, I don't. And I'll go, well then who do I believe?
Also, don't bring it up.
Yeah, you'll get, Zach, you'll read 10 pages and it'll end with, I actually don't think that happened. And it's like, well, fuck you, dude.
They will say she was the most beautiful woman of the land and every man fought for her, but I never saw her. And I'm I don't care.
They do Rhaenyra dirty in this. They do Allison dirty in this. Ooh. It's bad.
It's so fun, and that's why the show is, to me, I like watching the show because it's set in stone. Here it is, we're watching it, it's not rumors.
It's all, that's that. So you don't have to worry about spoilers on the show, but that's how we're gonna play it, okay? Great. Before we get into all of our questions, Jessica, kick us off with a little bit of a recap.
I'm going to read this as slow as possible because I might get a name wrong.
Okay.
We got a new title sequence for the season as the Targareyeans weave a web of destruction across Westeros. The episode opens on a familiar castle to Game of Thrones watchers. Anybody?
I've seen it.
Winterfell!
Winterfell! Winterfell, baby! You see that snow? Ooh! You see those little chode towers sticking up?
Stop! Yes, it's the chode of Winterfell. Jace is here. Jace is here to curry the favor of the Starks via their current leader, Cregan Stark. They take a trip to the Wall. The news arrives of Luke's death. Climax of season 1, if you remember it. We all remember it. It was a horrible scene. Just like the ending of
the
this
face of Aemond when he...
no, you do it. You're doing it.
He's like to the side and I need like an eye patch and he's like...
Oh damn! Did I just do that?
There's your thumb. That's for you, Brian. That's a great shot.
He went, oh shit.
Oh, Mama's gonna be pissed at me.
And then
he did not go straight home. He's like, I'm gonna fly to a couple pillow houses before I go home and deal with this.
One last thing, he acted like he was still in charge of Vhagar. He went, let's go home.
Bad dragon.
Head on back.
Vhagar was like, bitch, don't kill my vibe.
Yeah. Oh my god. Jace immediately heads back to Dragonstone, but not before securing the support of both the Starks and the Aarons. Daemon is eager to kick this war off, but Rhaenyra is still inconsolable after the death of her second-born son, Luke.
Yeah, poor Luke.
And no one cares that she's mourning.
I was gonna say
no, she cares. No one cares that she's and she's mourning in real time.
Right, but they're all like, hey, we got like kind of a civil war going on right now.
She's mourning in real time. Right. This woman had to deliver her own baby.
She
like
pulled
her
the baby out of
and then she's like, my heavenly children are now dead.
Yeah.
Sorry, Allison, that you hate all your kids, but I actually love mine.
Don't be like that. Don't be like that. We're gonna be neutral on this show.
The wigs tell us what side we're on, okay?
We're all wearing black, but we're gonna be neutral on this show.
That's true. That is true. We're dancing between two things. I get it. So Daemon wants to take over the strategic castle of Harrenhal, but Rhaenys warns him to wait for Rhaenyra's command. Rhaenyra's been flying around on Syrax, retracing his steps, traveling to Storm's End before eventually finding remains of Luke and Arrax washed up on the shore. That scene was horrible. Every part of this episode was
Zach had a great analogy for that.
It felt a lot like that famous scene in Jaws where they're going to cut open the shark on the dock, and they're like, if her son falls out of that shark's belly,
when she picked up the clothes, I was afraid
I had a hair or an arm or something. Because there's already it was creepy enough just seeing the dragon wing with the little hand.
Yeah, it was sad. Poor little Arrax. Before they took off, I rewatched like the finale. Before they take off, like little Luke's like, don't be afraid. We're going to stick to the plan. We're going to go.
Little baby dragon, little tiny dragon.
Stop. She returns to her Black Council and issues her first order. She wants Aemon Targaryen and ignores Daemon's request to go to Harrenhal. My man wants to get going.
Dude, she came in and she's like still dirty from flying and she's like,
tears in her eyes.
Aemon Targaryen.
Yes.
Right. And they're like, should we do all this other war stuff? No. And then she goes to her room.
Over on Team Green, Aegon is coming around to being king. Mainly because he can boss everyone around, but everyone thinks he's bad at his job. I actually appreciated the over-generosity he was showing to individual
That was
actors.
interesting. I mean, he's like a guy who's gotten everything he's ever wanted, and he doesn't want to deal with problems. He's a people pleaser.
He doesn't know you have to make hard choices in leadership positions.
And I love like the small folk. Like every time Otto comes over, they're like, "Oh, here we go. I was about to get everything I wanted." And the old Otto Hightower is about to piss in my
Otto
weeds.
is right though. It's like, hey, if we got to bring these dragons to war, they got to eat this entire man's sheep. He said, okay, my bad.
He's like, we
Also,
need your sheep.
I mean, I love dragons and big battles and ships and all that all day, but you know what? I could do hours of just in-castle bureaucracy. I could do it for days.
I agree. I could read a book of it. I genuinely, that sheep discussion.
Hey, you want to read a book of it?
No, not rumor.
I'm just kidding. This doesn't even get into like that much stuff.
But I would watch like a special feature on that because I was also, I didn't think about the sheep part where I was like, why would you ever want to be a sheep herder or anything in this world where you have to give it to the king because he has a
Can you
dragon?
imagine how much Vagar has to eat?
And then how much money they get? Nothing because it's
Yes.
like, this is
It's like
war.
the
It's like a
tax.
tax.
Yeah,
it's a tax.
and this is not a spoiler for the book, but like this is because this book starts like with the first Aegon. Aegon II is named after Aegon the Conqueror, who kind of put the Targaryens in power, took over Westeros, built the Red Keep at King's Landing. This is always a problem with kings where it's like, oh, we got to put taxes on now. Oh, we take them away. Oh, we put them on. So it's like this is kind of showing a little bit of that, like how you deal with your small folk is important.
And real world parallels.
Right.
Anybody
Yeah.
who's seen any of the 1,000 adaptations of Robin Hood knows
Yeah.
that's all about an overtaxed populace, right?
I'm going to steal these sheep.
Yeah.
But everyone thinks that Aegon's not a good king. Helena, Alicent, Otto, Aemond, and even some blacksmith named Hugh. Hey, work union. You know what I'm talking about? Alicent is still getting her stress relieved by Sir Criston Cole multiple ways. I like it. I mean, you know what? She's the only one getting her whistle wet
Yeah, right.
in this.
This episode, yeah, she's the only one that gets some.
I love
huh?
a girl that likes variety. You know what I'm saying?
Also,
You know what I'm saying? Respect.
Eric pointed this out in his breakdown that might come out, but like, Homeboy went really far from Rhaenyra, you stole my flower and betrayed me to now like we're all the time.
Well, yeah, he kind of has to, right? Because like, you know, he deflowers Rhaenyra, right? And like is like in love with her and like kind of lays out he shoots his shot. He's like, girl, let's run away.
laughs.
Let's get a bow. And she's like, I'm about to be queen. Like, who are you talking to? Also, she has, you know, and we'll talk about this a lot, right? She has the prophecy in mind, the Song of Ice and Fire. And she's like, I can't be fucking around with this. And Criston Cole was like so shook by that. He's like, I've dishonored myself. You know, as a member of the Knights Guard, he's takes no wife, you know, is supposed to live in service of the kingdom. So like this whole thing really shook him. So like he has to be all in on Alicent, right? Now, he's also already broken his vow once, so why not break it 69 more times?
What
about?
I just want to add quickly is that the fact that he went, and they said this in the first episode of the first season that I really clung on to, that all these men were fighting and killing each other because they hadn't gone to war yet.
Right.
And they're like, hey, we need to get their anger out. We need to go to war. And for Criston Cole, he was like, he went from she broke my heart to she wove a curse around your mother.
Yeah.
And she's taken
We gotta
her.
kill this.
I
We
was
gotta
like,
kill Rhaenyra.
You were there. They were best friends as children.
Also, we got to catch up with our own little worm tongue, Larys Strong. Sorry, a different character has a little worm tongue in this episode. But he's no fool. He's already dripping poison in Aegon's ear to get Otto ousted as the hand of the king. I think that's a really fun dynamic with Otto kind of pulling Aemond away while Larys is trying to get Aegon over to his side.
Right. Yeah, and especially because Larys knows that like Alicent was his like meal ticket, and she's like so done with this dude, and she's just being blackmailed by him basically. So he knows like that's not gonna last forever. I gotta find, and now Aegon has the most power because he's the fucking king.
Yes. Well, and he's getting his handmaidens throughout the. Larys is putting his staff in place, to be his own spy network. Aemond and Criston Cole are itching to fight too, but Alicent, much like Rhaenyra, is still trying to avoid conflict for now, if possible. Both women seem to understand that letting loose those dragons to war would just burn down the whole kingdom. They want to save the dragons as a last resort. Also, they know what the CGI budget is.
We can't. We gotta save it for episode 4. Okay, my man Corus Valerian is back on his feet He's still got a cane, though. And considering his grandchildren are fully Team Black, he decides to lend his considerable naval power to Rhaenyra. With his ships in the sea and his wife, Rhaenys, flying around on Meraxes, Team Black is able to set up a naval blockade of King's Landing in an effort to shut off their access to supplies. It's through this blockade that they're able to capture Mysaria, the White Worm, as she tries to escape the capital.
Real quick, did the guy get a name that saved him, that pulled him out of the water, that he talks to on the dock?
His name is Alan.
Alan. They give him Alan as a name? Everybody else has these wonderful
This guy got
fantasy
Lord
names.
Corlys, Valerius.
He's small folk dog.
And is he a created for the show character, or is that a book character?
Do we consider this a spoiler?
Oh, no, please, never mind.
it?
I figure he must play a part going forward. They wouldn't have given him that kind of screen
He had
time.
dialogue with, the Lord of Driftmark. He has a name, Alan of Hall. He is in the book. That's what we'll say about that.
I
The
also
fact
like-
that they showed him, maybe we'll see him again.
He's
I don't
also
know.
connected. He's like, I'll ask my brother to pull some strings. So, he's a mover and
He
a
also
shaker.
saved Corlys' life, which Corlys brings that up. Like, this dude saved his life.
He's a big...
Yeah, he's a big dude.
muscle man.
Yeah.
I was like,
I
he's
imagine
big.
he might get in a fight or have to kick some ass.
Yeah,
at some point.
have you seen Jace? He's like 5'1", dog. What's this guy gonna do?
Also, keep adding characters that I can differentiate from literally everybody else.
He's bald. We got a bald guy.
As a bald, literally no other bald people. I don't think. The other black guy that was on the council for Aegon. He's
the Maester.
yeah,
the Maester.
Maester,
I guess
yeah.
he's another bald black guy, but I can differentiate the two.
He's
that
a
horrible?
young, small guy. Yeah.
Since Daemon still hasn't gotten his blessed orders to leave Dragonstone, he decides to try to make his wife's wishes come true by getting Aemon killed through a little bit of outsourcing. Via the White Worm, he gets the contact info for a little rat catcher named Cheese. His name is Cheese. They didn't give him a name on the show, but his name is Cheese. And through this rat catcher's day job, he's able to know his way around the Red Keep. Daemon hires him to kill Aemon in his sleep. Cheese brings along his murderous buddy named Blood, who was also on the Night's Watch. He wears a gold cloak. He's the one that kind of let Daemon into the castle, or not the castle, but the grounds
Also,
around
are
the
we to
castle.
understand that it was actually Blood that probably recommended Cheese, right? Or do you think that
I think Mysaria told. told Daemon about Cheese, or about who he could talk to.
to find both of them?
Yes.
I'm sure he knew him when he went up there and was like, "Hey, dude, these high towers." And he's like,
That's a good point, though. I mean, it seemed like Blood and Cheese, Blood wasn't that friendly with Cheese. It seemed like that was the first couple
He
times. they were
literally
talking.
choke slams him up against the
"He
wall.
didn't want to do any of the killing."
Yeah.
Understandable,
Right.
Evan.
Do you think he got lucky with what guard saw him that night?
I mean, he's very fucking lucky.
Also, how can you tell them apart when they got the thing on?
I mean,
and
Blood's a
the,
big dude. He's a
He is,
big guy.
But he's
the
also
other-
the rat catcher. So when you see that behind him, you're like, "Oh, he's just carrying the rats."
The rat catcher easier to spot. Sure.
Yeah. He's
That's
got
just
his own
like
traps.
imagine a maid in a hotel. They can kill anyone. What?
It's
Is that
true.
wrong?
No,
it's true. They got the key cards. They can take you everywhere.
It's
That's
true.
right.
Also, don't you in a hotel if they have glassware in the bathroom? Don't use that. They don't.
No,
they don't
it's got the little paper cap on it.
Yeah,
That means it's safe.
I'm literally dipping my toothbrush in the cup. I am scrubbing
They don't.
my
They
toothbrush.
don't take
around
that down to a
You know what?
dishwasher.
You know what that sounds like? Sounds like you put your pubes on all those cups.
Yeah, why are you doing that? And also, why specifically the pubes?
That's the only way I can get off, Jessica. It's the only way I can get off. We'll leave that in, Brian.
You're aiming.
Speaking of white worms,
So our little rat catcher and our little killer from the Night Watch, they make their way into the castle to the upper floors. Only then does Cheese admit that I'm actually not allowed to go up to this area, and I have no idea where anything is.
we saw him at the meeting of the small council earlier.
Right, but
That
that's
was
like
him.
ground floor.
Oh, okay. He's not up in the personal
like-
chamber.
Yeah, he doesn't get to go into the personal chambers for good reason, because he's a little creeper, dude. He's a little creeper.
His name is Cheese.
So they're sneaking around upstairs. They can't find Aemon. They go into his room. They just miss him and Kristen Cole. Blood very smartly takes that loose change. This guy's played a few video games. He's know you got to pick up loose change wherever you find it. So they decide to dispatch with someone else instead. Aegon and Helena's young son, Jaehaerys, who was the heir to the throne after Aegon, he is killed by Blood. and cheese.
Graphically.
Pretty graphically. We don't see it, but
Also,
man, do we hear it.
It's like, my man, I told you to go murder someone else.
Right.
And he's like, I brought you a baby.
This is,
So-
I mean,
Now,
again, Daemon specifically said, go kill Aemon.
Yeah.
which would not be an easy thing to do
It's
unless
not
you catch him
easy.
sleeping.
Not
right?
easy.
Maybe you catch. They're always drinking wine on this show, right? Maybe if you catch him like drunk, you could and get the sneak up on him. But Aemon has proved to be like a really good killer. Or a really good fighter.
Yeah.
You know, he was ready to square off with Daemon at that messed up family dinner. I think it was like the second to last episode,
Yes.
or
When he had the thing on his face.
yeah, when they're having that one night when things were going so well between the two families and they were getting along, and then it didn't end well.
Now, I would love to talk about the Sophie's Choice moment
Okay.
here.
Yes.
Of her having to point at which kid.
Mm-hmm.
And like, as Blood and Cheese realized, she told them which one was the heir, right?
Right, and
The
it's a
boy.
little bit of what's the term for it? Not a prisoner's dilemma, but it's like, do they think she's telling the truth kind of thing? Because the two kids, I'm going to look at their names again. Jaehaerys and Jaehaera are the twins, and they look very similar, and these two morons don't know which one's the boy and which one's the girl. And Aegon really didn't know. When he showed up early in the episode, he had to touch, be like, yes, this is my son, because he's such a bad dad.
He says you can't tell. There's someone else that they were like, you can't tell which one's
Well,
which.
and,
I was
and,
like, no.
and I guess that there's a lot of parallels there to that first scene where we saw the heir, right? Like, the mother's name was
Helena.
Helena, right? Where is Jaehaerys? And Helena says, like, he's in the library doing his studies. Don't interrupt him. And then doesn't she say, like, he won't be king?
He doesn't. She
he
says
doesn't
like
wanna
he
be.
doesn't. What if he doesn't want to be king?
Yes,
And
and
I
then-
think she thought about that, and that's why she was like, kill him, because he's gonna be living a life that's like this, and she doesn't want him to
Right.
live.
And remember, Aegon didn't want to be king either.
Yeah.
When his mom, Allison was trying to turn him into king, he's like, I don't want to do this.
Every-
Like, what are you talking about?
I want to be whoremongering.
I want to go.
out in those streets.
I want to be in the child fighting pits, making money.
Every king has a horrible life and a horrible existence, and
Yeah.
they become a horrible person. And then on top of that, they're forced to have to marry their sibling.
Yeah.
So she's probably like, I don't want this person to go through. I don't want to make
Yeah.
this one go through what I went through, and this one be my brother.
Or is it maybe a little bit of like a circular like foresight thing? She has some kind of
yeah.
weird ability. She foresaw that like rats are going to be an issue, rat catcher, whatever. Like maybe she just knows like, oh, he's not going to live to be king.
Oh.
And
what
that
I
was
mean?
already like this is she's just shortening it.
She's just kind of like fulfilling her destiny. She's like, I know I have to do this.
I would love that.
Well, let's
That could
talk.
be
We'll talk more about that moment and its differences from the book. But before we get into all that, are there any other like favorite moments that you really enjoyed this episode? Zach is like fully new to this story. Anything like blow you away that you were really impressed by?
I mean, I love going to Winterfell. I know,
It was
like
nice to
that might
start
be
there,
the
right?
only time we go there. We might never see any other Starks the rest of the series. I don't know. I am looking forward to just like the graybeards. I love that he's like, well, we can't give you our normal age soldiers, but you can have the old guys that don't want to be in cold weather. Like instead of sending them to Arizona, we're
Right.
gonna send them down to King's Landing. I love it.
That was like a brutal opening too. The whole like, every now and then we just send one random dude who didn't, because normally the wall's reserved for people who committed like crimes and stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, no, there's a guy who's just like, he was living his life normally and he's got to go to the wall now. It's like, damn.
But there's a little bit of like, you need a draft for your army,
Right.
otherwise it'll just become.
When they're setting up the stone circle, do you like, is everyone fighting to get to the first? Because you want to be one of the first 3 people picking out of that bag.
How do you
Your
know they
odds are way
didn't drop?
better.
How do you know they didn't drop the black rocks on the top?
It doesn't matter. I mean, you want as many rocks in that bag as
my
possible.
luck, I'm picking that black rock immediately. I have such bad luck with those games. I'll be like, let me go first, you guys, and it'll
Yeah.
be shiny,
Yeah.
cool.
What was a favorite moment for you this episode?
It sucks to say this, and when I say this, I don't mean it's a favorite moment that brings me joy.
Right.
But I remember in the book immediately being like, who told them all that the baby died? How do they know that the baby died? Because there's a lot of stories in the books where people
baby?
just
Luke?
Jace,
Luke.
Luke. Yeah, Luke. Where Luke died. Because there's parts in the book sometimes where people just like disappear.
Right.
And we're like, sometimes they say they came back as a wizard.
Yeah.
You're like, whatever. And my favorite part was her seeing that on shore.
It was that
which
was like brutal.
It was
I love the
horrible,
the
but-
fish, the whole fishing community. They're like, oh, this is the best day ever. We got pieces of a dragon. We're gonna be able to make like cool shirts and stuff. Like we'll be able to sell some of this stuff. it'd be great. And then another dragon shows up, and they were probably like, it's its mom!
And also, I mean, the acting.
Emma
in that
D'Arcy
scene, just crushing it. And even the, I gotta say, the dragon acting. The dragon kind of crying out when he sees his master all sad and torn up.
There is a thing in the books that, there's kind of a psychic connection. It's never really fully...
It's kind of like a bond.
It's theorized that there is this connection between writer and dragon. This was kind of emphasized last season, too, when she had that, stillbirth. I guess the best way to say it, when she was giving birth in that last episode and the baby didn't survive and she's screaming out, there was intercut with shots of her dragon, Cyrax, screaming also. The idea that, they can feel each other's pain. And they kind of know what their writer wants them to do.
That's why when they're eggs, they got to be next to the baby.
Yeah. Usually a Targaryen is born and the egg is, placed in the child that kind of carries the egg around and all that stuff, and it bonds even before the dragon is hatched.
Side note, that is also what happens in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Continue.
Dragon eggs?
Not dragon eggs.
Apes lay eggs?
No, you know what I'm talking about.
One of my favorite moments in the show, and it's really just small, but I kind of love little world building like this, when Rhaenys comes back on Meraxes, and we see the cool little setup they have for the valet stand for when you drop your dragon off. I was like, oh, that was great. I kind of love this little ledge, and she's getting back, and she's been out all day, and she's all all dirty, and Damon's right up again, and she's like, shut the fuck up,
Is it
bitch.
just me, or did both Rhaenys in that scene and Rhaenyra in a scene later, when they got off the dragon, they were a little bow-legged?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Just the actor,
They've been riding all day.
the way they kind of did it, just kind of portrayed that, you've been sitting on this.
I love that they're dirty, too. You're getting,
they're
dirt
wet.
and
I
I
bugs.
mean, think of the bugs in your teeth,
And even in the first episode of season 1, Rhaenyra's mom, mentions you smell like dragon you've been riding all day. I love that kind of world building. It's very fun. Okay. Evan, did you have a favorite part of this episode?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really love that scene between Jace and Rhaenyra when he comes back and he's reporting all the news. He's trying to keep it together.
Yeah, he did his,
I think it's very interesting the way they portray the parents' relationship to children and royalty in this show and the keeping the formality, when you keep the formality versus when you drop it.
Right.
Clearly, Rhaenyra is doing away with a little bit of that, but also just that moment to see them fully break down.
Yeah.
Well,
So powerful.
it's because she was raised by Viserys, and Viserys loved his family before anything. Where
a good dad.
Alicent was raised by her father that put everything before his family
And, pimped her
that's-
out, dude.
And that's why. And the thing is, she tried. She tried, just like she wanted that love from her dad. She tried giving it to her kids, but that's what happens when you have kids that are crazy and lunatics. It's not your fault, Alicent.
Yeah.
But
And
2 out of 3 of your kids are problems.
Yeah, and again, it's why this show, I appreciate it more than the book, is that both Alicent and Rhaenyra are 3-dimensional characters. We have that scene of Alicent lighting a candle for Luke.
And she does it for.
Yeah,
I
and
want her to
because
become-
she knows the pain of losing a child, and it's pretty brutal.
Before we get into more questions, why don't we talk about a couple of our sponsors here today? It's hard to watch House of the Dragon and not want to stick a sword of your very own into something.
It's true. Oh man, it's true.
I don't think it's true.
A sick sword, not want a sick
Oh, okay, not want to stick a sick. No,
I want to stick a sick sword somewhere.
Hey, you know what? Watch the show. We didn't get a lot of sword battle in this episode. There were a lot of people. Cregan Stark with ice on his back.
Ooh, you love seeing ice.
But we want to thank our friends at Mini Katana, who sent this, Game of Thrones-esque sword here. We also got a couple actual katanas, and Jessica has a dope one on her desk right now. If you use code New Rockstars, it's on the screen right now, 15% off. You can check out some of the cool stuff they have at minikatana.com. They have a bunch that are inspired by different anime. And all kinds of different styles, including they have these fun things. I don't know if you can see it in the back. Mini katanas that you can have on your desk. They're 8 inches long.
Yeah.
They're kind of, there it is, way back there. But it's still in the style. This is, I will say too, to their credit, when they asked us which ones to send, I was like, just don't send any sharp ones.
And it's
This one is nice and dull. You can also get sharp ones, but we were like, we need all of our fingers for the typing.
Yeah.
And I was playing with mine immediately.
Even my boy Corliss, he tried to get a little sword for his grandson, and it didn't come in time. That was sad.
That was sad. He's like, I got this.
Also, did you notice the hilt of that little dagger matched the hilt of his own sword? I thought that was.
Oh yeah, that
He
cool
loved-
kind
Yeah,
of.
that like
He
shell.
loved his
at
grand.
the-
He
yeah.
loved those boys. He didn't care at all that they weren't half black
And
at all.
Luke, and Luke was like, "Please don't make me Lord of Driftmark. I throw up on boats all the time."
So check out minikatana.com. Again, they've got some cool Game of Thrones.
They're not all
inspired
mini,
swords.
dog.
They're not all mini. Some of them are full-blown katana.com. And they have other fun products. Look. Evan's rocking
Whoa, what
a
is
fun
this?
jean jacket
Whoa.
with a cool anime-inspired design
My
on
boy's
the
too
back.
small.
Okay.
You can see half of
You
it.
see a little
Yeah,
bit of
but
You can see
it.
half of it.
Okay, yeah, fun.
Oh, my baby.
Clothing, freeze-dried candy, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
So use our promo code over at minikatana.com.
I love
And then also, we want to thank Cuts Clothing, who make really comfy clothes that look great. Cuts Clothing has their simple X logo on the seam to let you know your shirt's up to snuff and nothing more. We can wear Cuts Clothing, and no matter what you're doing, they're, nice, simple shirts, things like that, but they, you could wear them to work, you wear them out, exercise, whatever. They're kind of that classic style that works in all occasions. And if you're the type who likes all your clothes to be comfy, Cuts Clothing has a ton of options for you, from hoodies to pants to joggers and jackets. All of Cuts Clothing's products are made with the same attention to comfort and fit, and their minimalist style makes them the perfect addition to your wardrobe. If you go to cutsclothing.com and use code Rockstars at checkout, you can save 25% off your purchase today. That's on screen right now. Great. Thank you so much to Cuts and Mini Katana for helping us bring this episode to you.
Heck yeah. Okay, let's get into some of our main questions from this episode. Helaena Targaryen and some of the book changes, okay? With Helaena, it kind of seems like they're continuing a thread from season 1 of her seemingly having prophetic abilities, possibly like a green sight or a dreamer of sort. The Targaryens, the only reason they survived the doom of Valyria is because one of their ancestors was a dreamer and was like, we got to get the hell out of here. So it's kind of an important thing that is different from the book. Helena's never described as like a dreamer in the book, though season 1 kind of set up this idea that she has this kind of foresight. Do we think this is something that the Greens will be able to utilize as part of like putting their plans together?
I think they would if they believe it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're writing her off, right?
Yes.
They kind of hand
But
wave
it
her.
also-
She's kooky.
But it also, Allison is getting so much more religious. And she's like, the gods, like,
Right.
what did I do to them? What happened to me?
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
lighting
yeah.
candles.
I think because she's lighting the candles and praying and like thinking so much about this, she's gonna start actually, and she's losing power with her sons, but Helena's still there. And so I think she's gonna become closer with Helaena and start believing it. Also in the trailers, there's like so much footage of them like holding hands and running. And I'm like, oh, they're finally like becoming one. They're becoming mother-daughter.
Yeah.
So I think maybe she'll believe her, but Otto absolutely won't. Sir Kristen Cole will not.
Right.
The Maesters will be like, nah.
I do love throughout kind of all the Game of Thrones books, because this is certainly in the original series, but like in this, right, with Viserys and his obsession with the Song of Ice and Fire and the like, the thing that was written on it, kind of maybe contributed to him kind of losing it at the end, right? Like that prophecy didn't help him in any way.
Right, he
And
was
it's
very afraid of it.
Started the course of these two families fighting each other and eventually kind of like going to kill a lot of them, we're presuming, right? It's already killed a few of them. Like these kind of prophecies, whether they're accurate or not, don't really do anybody any good.
Yeah.
And they often cause more harm than good, right?
To that point, and that would make immediately Aegon be like, I'm not leaving. Like, why would I leave? I'm the king. Or Aegon or Aemon. Aegon the second.
Aegon's the king.
Aegon
Yeah.
the second. And this is,
Yes.
oh God, too many A's. But I could see immediately, even if everyone did believe the prophecy, why would Aegon want to leave his throne? Why would he want to leave this area?
And Aegon doesn't know the prophecy, right? And
Yeah.
you're correct on that, Zach. Again, the prophecy is not something from the book. They kind of added it to the show because that Valyrian steel dagger makes its way all the way to the Night King's chest via Arya Stark. So this is a device for the show, but it does give a lot more drive for Rhaenyra to do what she's doing, right? Because she believes that like any moment this stuff could happen. We as the audience had the dramatic irony of knowing this isn't gonna pop off for another like 150 years. But yes, she's constantly afraid of it. And Viserys was constantly afraid of it. At the finale of season 1, Rhaenyra is talking to Daemon and she's like, what about the prophecies? And Daemon hand waves it away and is like, oh, my brother, he was obsessed with like portents and omens and it did him in. And that's when she realizes like, oh, you didn't even know about this. Like Viserys didn't trust you with this knowledge. And she carries that burden now. And you know, the book doesn't, in the book, it's more just who wants to control or who thinks they deserve to be the
power
leader.
struggle, yeah.
Rhaenyra is afraid that like, if I don't keep control of this kingdom, we're all going to be killed. So she has like all of that drive going for her. And with Alicent, you know, you're right too. She believes in the faith, something that Rhaenyra and most of the Targaryens, they're not really into the faith. They like the older kind of Targaryen ways. Alicent's very much believing in it, and like she's gonna listen to what Septons say, and you know she embraces the faith. So she kind of has to believe that like her husband Viserys, in her mind, said that her Aegon should be, you know, king, and so she's gonna stick with that. And she's already done so much and sacrificed so much, and things have gone so poorly. It's like it's that sunk cost fallacy. Like she's already in for a penny, so she's in for the whole pound, dog. And the pound town, you know what I mean?
Hey, yo, she's getting hers.
Evan wasn't ready for that one.
It's the most, in my greatest opinion, as a sexpert, the most boring sex of my life, it looks like. Especially for Sir Kristen Cole. He looks like he's just doing the work and just leaving. Not even doing the work. She does most of the work. He's just there.
He was doing work.
She just said,
in the first scene.
Yeah.
You're talking about in the last
Even in the first scene, though, she just lifts up the skirt. Like,
Hey, the last scene, we
where's
only
the panache?
get to see the coitus interruptus. We didn't get to see the hour and a half
Was I the
before that.
Yeah, dog. You know, he started right after dinner. They're still going after midnight. Was I the only one, like, when she runs in and somebody's having sex, I didn't realize it was Alicent.
Oh, I immediately knew it was Alicent.
I assumed it was Aegon with one of his mistresses or something like that, you know?
For a moment, I was like, oh, but then I saw the hair and I was like, this is Alicent.
Yeah.
But I genuinely immediately was like, and it would make sense for Helena to still not react to it because she's like, yeah, that's my brother. Like, it's not my husband. It's just my brother that I had to have children
this is
with.
my mom, but not my dad, but also
Well,
whatever.
she's just witnessed the death of her child.
Yeah, that's
She's
true.
like, Helena was already kind of, you know, different and was not...
touched.
But
Yeah.
she was even
She wasn't
sweet.
scared of stuff and like reacted
Yeah.
things differently. So I think even if she was just walking in to ask a question, she wouldn't have, you know, and Alicent's like, oh God, I have to explain this away. And it's like, no, you don't. And I think that might drive, like you said in the trailers, they're often together.
Yeah.
I think that might drive Alicent closer to Helena.
No, 100%.
Especially as Aegon and Aemond both like reject Alicent more and more and want to like do their own thing.
I
Like
think-
she's gonna draw closer to Helena. And I hope that she realizes Helena's abilities. And I would love the show to utilize that dreaming a little bit more.
I think there's something here which is not even like a surprise that the women like are really leading with their hearts and the men are just like, let's go to war.
Right. It's kind of
Immediately.
nice that both of the women are like, we can't rush into this battle immediately. And like you said, you know, the realm's been pretty peaceful for a while, but now it's like they're ready to like destroy it all apart.
Certainly a theme of this show is like the men are always ready to fight.
Yeah.
And the women hold back until like overwhelming emotion drives them to fight, right? You've killed my son,
Yeah.
we have to fight, right?
But it's even, yeah, and it's still they're like seeing the bigger picture though. And I don't know, it's insane that there's like 3 main women to the entire show. There's like 40 characters that we have to keep
Right.
track of. 3 of them are women, and these 3 women have not done anything horrible yet. Like it's been everybody else doing it.
Yeah, because they have to be kind of like co-protagonists.
They do.
We have to kind of, in theory, when the show's at its best, we like both Alicent and Rhaenyra, and we're kind of torn about who to root for, right?
But they still have that, just like that mom, that feminine, like
Right.
they all are moms and they're all like, these are my children.
Yeah.
Like when the men lose their kids, they're just like, well, now I gotta go kill someone else. An
Well,
eye for an eye. The moms are like, my baby's dead.
I need to mourn.
Yeah, I need to mourn. And
you
they
can-
even made fun of her about
You
that
can
on
argue
council.
that like people might say like, well, Alicent married Rhaenyra's dad. It's like Alicent was a child and like
Yeah.
manipulated by her own father, and it was heavily implied that she did not enjoy
did not
having
wanna
kids
do
with
this.
Viserys.
She did not wanna do
That was
that.
not her thing, and like she was kind of, and it was like, well, I have these kids now, and I'm going to protect them, and I'm going to do what I can.
And if you're raised under just Otto and being like, this is my dad.
Otto's a bad dad.
This is my dad.
Constant.
Though
yeah.
he's so funny. Oh, I love Otto.
What a blast he is.
What a
I
blast.
have a quick Alicent question.
Okay.
So, like, after the scene where Loras is like, I replaced all the staff, I've got my people now, and they make a point of like, then it's Alicent has her like bath scene.
Right.
She's got all the handmaidens, and they're all kind of looking creepy. They got some interesting brows going on. They've all
brow
got,
work.
a
Are those their
thick-
actual eyebrows?
Like a Jennifer Connelly brow going on a lot.
Big
of
brow,
them, but-
thick
has
brows
to
are
be-
in 157.
It has to be
AC.
their actual brow. I was thinking that, I was like, it's drawn on like straight skunk, and I was like,
I don't know if we're to think they're like strong women or something like that. Like maybe, I don't know. Anyways, but like, you know, she's got all these like new women kind of tending to her. Somebody puts like some flakes of something in a cup and is scrubbing her hand. And she's like, yeah, get out of here. Yeah. Do you think that was going to be some kind of a drugging situation?
I think it's just to lead to her paranoia, right? She knows what Larys is capable of. She knows that Larys is always kind of like putting his spies everywhere. And so she's like, I can't trust any of these women.
That could have just been like,
it's just soap.
It could have just been an exfoliating scrub. Yeah.
Could it not been of something that was like to calm her down since Luke died? Because after Luke died, everyone else was like, okay, we got to think of a plan of action. She was like...
You talking about Allison or Rhaenyra?
Allison.
Allison.
Because she was the one taking the
Oh,
bath.
when she finds out that Luke is dead, and she's like...
She was like,
hey,
what the...
my God,
what
my
the
son,
hell?
my
What
son.
the hell? She's the only one that's still reacting to it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe it was something to calm her down.
Yeah, maybe it was
from
to
that.
calm her down. Or again, it was just like nothing and...
Hey,
I like that scene though. It was really, I loved the idea of like, because Rhaenyra was like, let me birth my own fucking baby. And then she's like, get away from me. I'm just gonna scrub my own ass.
Yeah, well, and also she had, when we saw the young version of Allison, didn't she have some like weird,
she did have a little
twitch
tick.
kind of tick stuff? And so like her doing like...
Yeah, she was really scrubbing.
Habitual, that's not she's not trying to get clean. That is like a habit thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that. I was also confused about that too. And I was wondering if it was flakes that she was putting in or if she was like scrubbing. The handmaiden was like scratching skin off of her own.
Oh, it
fingers
could have
to be even more, so it'd be even dirtier thing for Allison. Like if that wasn't an additive bad thing, but she was just like, I gotta clean my fingers off and then I can scrub her. I couldn't tell either.
I don't know. You're all paranoid. It's just a bath, folks.
Also, I love that just while we're talking like set and like interesting shots and stuff like that. I mean, the metaphor of Sir Kristen and Aemond are like using like coins to map out the kingdom and like, oh, we can go here and take this army and go here and whatever. And like, you know, like what a great metaphor for these like elites, you know, aren't even talking about like, oh, that'll be 1,000 men will die or whatever. They're just kind of using markers to signify troop movements. And then just like a dude from the street just comes in, scrapes the coins and essentially kills
that's what it
kills
is.
your kid for a handful of coins.
Kills
right?
the
like,
heir to the throne.
Yeah.
One supposed heir to the throne.
Give me the book of the cinematography for this because that is real. They use this to map it out. He takes the coins away and he's just destroying the entire
you guys
city.
play your rich man games. I'm gonna take this money and I'm gonna kill this kid. I'm gonna get out of here.
That's the entirety. It was a king that was being nice that didn't recognize that the world is evil, and now that his son is dead, he's destroying. He's gonna destroy everything. This one swoop of coins just destroyed all of what he was ruling.
That moment was great, and I really liked
did this?
the moment from Eric. I don't know which one. The Erics that is with Team Black, and Damon's kind of interrogating him.
Oh,
it's
the
like,
twins?
Why didn't you kill Aegon when you had the chance? Why didn't you do this? And this guy is like, look, man, I took an oath. I take no bride. I live my life for this family. What am I supposed to do when this family is fighting itself? Like, whose side do I take when my job is to protect not only the king, but the queen and the whole family? So, like, what am I supposed to do?
Also, I mean, now your split has caused me to fight my own family.
Right.
Like, my
Brother
my
against
twin
brother.
A lot of twins on this show.
A lot of twins on the show. Before we move on, let's talk more real quick about Blood and Cheese. The events as they happen in the show are a little different from the book. In the book, when Blood and Cheese happens, Helena and Aegon have had a third child at this point, whose name is Maelor, I believe. Yeah. Aegon and Helena have had a third child named Maelor. And when Blood and Cheese show up, the kids are awake. They bust into the room, they take Helena, and they make Helena choose between the older son and the younger son who's going to die, right? And Helena kind of like hems and haws on it, and she decides that because Maelor is only 2 years old at this point, I believe, she's like, Maelor should die because he's a young child, he hasn't lived yet. He's also not the first in line to the throne or whatever, and she makes that choice. Blood goes over to Maelor and is like, your mom just picked you to die, and then goes and kills the older son. So same results, but like a really different tactic. I feel like the way it happened in the show is not as psychologically brutal as it is in that moment, because Helena sees all this happen and it really messes her up. Now this is still gonna mess her up, but I don't know what you think of that change as someone who hasn't read the book. If you think that's like a better change, if you like how it happened in the show like this.
Definitely thank you for telling me about that. Like as portrayed in the show, definitely like Blood and Cheese are just brutes.
Yeah, they're just
They're just
hired
here to do a
killers.
job. They don't really have a lot of stake or emotional investment in the game. Whereas what you just described, like, that's devious.
Diabolical.
That's not just for a check.
Yeah, they enjoy the violence
Yeah.
in a more disgusting way.
In the book, they seemed more appropriate for the job than they did here. They were like fighting back and forth
Right.
and being like the Three Stooges
Yeah,
in the show.
yeah.
In the book, they were like, I'm gonna kill a baby.
Yeah.
Scat! And they like just didn't care. And that whisper part was the part that affected me so much from the book of being like, your mom chose you. I was like, you didn't even have to say
Because that kid then grows up knowing
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and it's like a very interesting psychological damage. But I believe the show is saying that Maelor's not even born yet, or we just haven't even seen Maelor.
Yeah. Also, I guess the parts that include that in the book aren't really necessary yet for Maelor, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's another kid, Darren Targaryen, who's the child of Alicent and Viserys, a fourth child, who we have never seen on the show, though Ryan Condal, one of the creators of the show, has confirmed that child exists in the universe already. In the book, he is sent away to Old Town, to the Citadel, to become a maester. And so presumably that's where he is now. We've just never met this.
He might show up.
He might show up later.
I like
Who
when they
knows?
need him, they're going to be like, you need to come back to the castle.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's going to be like, I'm a maester. I'm not doing that
I'm a maester. Look at my chains. I ain't coming back.
I ain't coming back.
Look at my chains.
Real quick, just we mentioned Blood and Cheese. This would be a great point to throw up a graphic of some cool nerdriot.shop designs, including a Blood and Cheese design we've got coming out soon.
gosh.
We don't have them already to be wearing, but maybe by next week's show we should have them delivered.
Why would I want a shirt of blood and cheese?
That's a great question.
The murderers?
Ask John Costa. Who
I'm going to wear it around my
I probably
nephews.
will. And then the ones that do get it. The girls that get it, get it. And
That's right.
they're upset about
It's
it.
a very minimalist design.
Okay, let's talk about that great scene in Winterfell, the opening scene for a second. In the books, that happens. Jace is sent to go both confirm House Aaron and the Veil, which that was Rhaenyra's mother was from House Aaron, so very easy to get them on that side, and go to Winterfell with the Starks, who had already pledged to Rhaenyra, and they always honor their pledges. So again, gave Jace the easy jobs. Poor Luke. Luke had to go to the worst house. Had to go to
Stormlands.
dumb. I can't read Baratheon house.
had to go fight Aemon a little bit.
Jesus, Mom.
They said, go
Bad
ahead,
choice.
tussle.
Also, a lot of turbulence
Lot of
around
turbulence.
the Stormlands. Yeah.
So do we think Jace will go back to the north again, or do you think that's all we'll see of Winterfell from here on out?
That's what I was wondering. Are we going to see any Starks for the rest of the series? Right? Because this is not really a story that involves them.
I think everyone is as important as even seeing Lannister. It's little parts of him fighting a baby, but it's still here's Lannister. I think that's as much as we'll get of the Starks for now.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how far they go in the show, on
Yeah.
the war kicking off, we know all these houses are going to get involved in the war. So depending on how far we get, we might see more Starks, we might not. I don't know. But
They got to stretch out the book a little bit. They can't just go through what I've read.
I don't know.
This
It'll be
season.
interesting to see where they go.
House of the Dragon recently renewed for a third season.
Yes, we know it's going to be a third
So we
season.
know we're getting not only the 10 episodes of season 2, but presumably another 10 episodes. We also got a very brief glimpse of a direwolf in Winterfell.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was a small one.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
kind of just looked like a dog.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's gonna get bigger.
Yes. Do we see are we going to see a full-size direwolf? Are we going to see a giant? Are we going to see a
Giant?
wildling? Are we going to see a White Walker?
That's
any
a
of
good
the
question.
An
supernatural
homage,
stuff?
they gotta put a dire wolf in there for
Right.
the homage. If they show up, I better see a bunch of wolves.
If the Greybeard army shows up, from Winterfell,
Yeah.
they're coming to help the blacks fight in a war.
It would be fun to
give
see
me
some
one dire wolf off to the
if there is
side,
a battle
Give me
scene,
one off to the side.
which the trailer has shown battle scenes, right?
Yeah.
It would be fun to see a dire wolf
Yeah,
run across,
rip
or something
apart,
like that.
rip someone, jump on
Yeah.
someone.
Seeing
10 of those.
seeing the wall was great. Seeing Jace's reaction to the wall and seeing what is north and what the wall is holding back. I don't think they can have anything cross the wall. But it would be fun to a fun little sequence of the Night Watch. They, for whatever reason, they have to head out north and just they all get killed off and no one knows what happens. But just for the audience who has seen Game of Thrones, a fun little
they got it.
reminder of what's up there.
And just for a show that's giving us so much dragons,
Mm-hmm.
right? Something we didn't get a lot of especially the first season's House of the Dragon. I just love a little bit more of the supernatural,
Yeah.
the monster, the whatever.
There was,
Hey, there's only so much money.
Cregan talks about when King Jaehaerys and Alicent came to visit Winterfell. Again, this is Viserys' grandfather. This was the old man who in season 1 did the Great Council, which caused all these problems now. But he was the great conciliator. Everyone loved him and Alicent. They flew around with their dragons. And when they visited the north, they went to the wall and they tried to ride their dragons out there. And the dragons were like, no.
Oh, yeah. Because some dragons... Oh, sorry.
And Cregan talks about that. And like, that's a big deal. Like, even the dragons are afraid to go north of the wall because they know there's some
There's some dragons that are afraid of going north of the wall. And then there's some dragons that... And I think these also are the dragons that are afraid.
Yeah.
They don't like how cold it is.
Yes.
So they do different climates. And I always forget about that until I read the book.
There's also multiple mentions in this, both when we're at Winterfell and then Alicent later says there's a chill in the air, right? Do we see winter hit during this season?
Oh, that would be fun.
Dude,
That would be fun.
you got to go through the seasons, and I need, because that's also another. We can't give the dragons the entire world. We know what happens in Game of Thrones; they're gone. So it's like we need to tear them down, and even if it's little things as nature, just like snow. Yes, give me that too, because that means their food dies out and they don't like the cold.
Yeah, I mean, Cregan says winter's right around the corner, so we can't.
I would love that. That would be great. And then we just have humans fighting humans again for a minute.
Humans fighting humans. Now, in this trip to the north, like I mentioned, Fire and Blood, the source text, there's different stories that come out of there of like things that might have happened while Jace was in the north. One of the kind of unreliable narrators in this book is a little guy named Mushroom.
Mushroom.
A court jester who's like fully Team Rhaenyra. He loves Rhaenyra and the Blacks and stuff. He tells this story that while Jace is in the north with his dragon Vermax, the dragon like lays eggs in the north, which seems crazy because it's too cold. But Mushroom's like, no, he laid him in a cave where there was like a geothermal vent and these eggs like survived. And this was a rumor that persisted in like Game of Thrones. Now they have not presented Mushroom in the show. And I think at this point they're not going to. It would be weird to have him show up all of a sudden and like now start telling stories. So like, I don't know. Do you think there's anything to that here? Do you think they would like imply there's dragon eggs up there? Or is that like too much?
I remember when the big battle of Winterfell in the final season of Game of Thrones, right? Like there were all these shots of like people hiding in the catacombs under Winterfell. And there's all these people going to be like, "There's dragon eggs down there," or whatever. Right. We never saw them.
Yeah, we never saw that. I mean, we don't really know where like Daenerys's eggs came from in Game of Thrones. We hear kind of like a little bit of stories of how they were passed around, but no one really knows for sure. It'll be interesting to see if the show if this series isn't at some point, and it's now 3 seasons, sets up, hey, these are the eggs. These are those eggs. I think in the trailer there was kind of a shot of like 3 eggs that looked a little mysterious. I was like, oh, are they just trying to invoke the feelings of Game of Thrones, or are they gonna like settle that? I don't know. There's also a fun story. There's also a rumor Mushroom tells that while Jace is in the north, he falls in love with a woman named Sarah Snow. If you know the last name Snow, it means you're a bastard. So like he falls in love with this kind of like...
Would have been the bastard sister of Cregan.
Right. Yeah. This kind of like, bastard Stark. They fall in love. They like secretly get married. Even though Jace is currently like betrothed or whatever. Again, that's just a story Mushroom tells, and like, Archmaster Goldwyn, who like kind of writes the whole Fire and Blood, he's like, I don't really believe that nonsense. But
Stark bastards and Targareyeans.
And it might be like a fun little conflict for Jace to have to deal with I forget which one he's betrothed to.
Well, while you're looking that up, I wanted to add, because I always forget and I hate it. Everybody in the show's a bastard. 9 times out of 10, they're bastards, and they fucking hate
even when they
bastards.
don't admit it.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are you guys treating these kids crazy? Because the parents could even still be together. It's just that they weren't married. So it's like they're like, hey, fucking Snow, you fucking Snow. Also, that's so fucked up. They call them the Snows, and then we have like the Valerians that are technically princes, and they are all bastard kids too.
Before we get into our final questions, we want to thank one other sponsor real quick. It's actually one of my favorite sponsors on the show. I truly wear this every day. Mando deodorant. I love Mando. They make a full body deodorant. I personally use it on my pits, but you know what? I'm open to using it on other body parts. They have cologne quality scents for men. Fun scents like bourbon leather, pro sport, and the one I like, Mount Fuji. I've been using it for a while, and again, I say this every time, but like after a long day, maybe you do a couple, you go to work, you do something after work, whatever, you're taking off my shirt at the end of the night, still smells good. the Mando still smells good.
You hang it back up, the shirt?
I could. I don't,
Oh,
but I
no.
could. Usually it's covered in spaghetti sauce, so I have to wash it. But not because it's funky. I don't have to wash
You
it.
didn't even
'cause
have
it's funky.
spaghetti for dinner.
No, but it's I get it thrown at me. Mando is made with mandelic acid and alpha hydroxy acid that actually blocks the sweat-eating bacteria on your skin from causing odor. So you don't even smell in the first. It's not that it's covering up smell with more smell. It's that you don't smell. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a Mando starter pack with code BREAKROOM at shopmando.com. That's on screen right now. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit shopmando.com and use code BREAKROOM. I, Zach Huddleston, personally endorse.
So the rumor of like Sarah Snow, I don't know if it'll show up in the show, but they could have it as like a fun little rumor to kind of wedge a divide between Jacaerys and Baela. Baela Targaryen, who he's like betrothed to. You know, maybe something like the Greens will start that rumor or something. Like, oh, while Jace was in the North, he had he secretly married this other.
It happens. It happens in the show. It happens a lot. The only
I
part
mean,
that I
Ned
hate about
Stark.
it,
Good old Ned Stark did it.
yeah,
right.
But the only part I hate about it is like the little bits and pieces they actually like communicated and like flirted with each other in the first season. I was like, oh, finally, like. I love that he's still the product of Rhaenyra because Rhaenyra's like, you gotta love the person you're with.
Yeah.
And you gotta love your family.
Yeah.
So she taught him to also be in love with like, try. And
Yeah.
they actually felt like they were gonna be like a good item.
Yeah, and it feels like Jace was like barely in the North. It felt like he was there for
he
like.
just popped in.
But they're also like, it's boys. And when I say they're boys, it's like the North has boys and they have two boys. And it's like, yeah, they're gonna become friends because now his little brother's gone.
Yeah. R.I.P. Well, he's got another little brother.
He's a baby.
And like they didn't really get into it in this episode. Well, I don't know if they'll get into it if this is a spoiler, but like Cregan before Jace arrived kind of went through his own little power struggle where his uncle tried to take over Winterfell. So he's had his own mini little civil war up there.
They can little vent to each other, which is really
They're like,
sweet.
ugh, families, right? Ugh.
Uncles, Uncle Dads.
Uncle Dad's always a problem. Hey, who should be the hand, huh? Okay. This is like a very coveted spot in the book. And it definitely indicates who kind of really leads the kingdom, right? Especially when you have a moron like Aegon on the throne. But even in the Game of Thrones time, right? Like being the hand was both a gift and a curse. Who do we think should be the hand here? Right now we have Otto Hightower, but clearly like Larys Clubfoot. Oh, you know, he wants that position, right? Maybe Aemon wants to be the hand. He kind of already is. He basically shows up in the room. He's like, here's the battle plan, morons. Like, here's what we should do. Who do you think should be Aegon's hand at this point? Should he keep Otto around?
It should.
Otto's been there since Viserys.
served 3 kings.
Yeah.
Otto, the thing is, Otto's resume, upstanding.
Yeah.
Should honestly, he should be the one, but he's not going to keep him. And if we learned anything from his dad, you shouldn't have your brother be the hand because your brother's a maniac.
Right.
So it shouldn't be Aemon either.
Because Viserys didn't want Daemon as his hand.
He was like, he can go be a crazy person.
He can run the night watch.
Night
he can run the the night
King's Watch.
The gold, the king.
the city
King's
watch.
Guard.
The city
King's
watch.
Guard.
There's too many names.
The King's Guard are the white. The city.
Who's the gold cloak?
That's the city watch. Right?
Okay,
Got it.
that's what I thought. Yeah, he gave him that duty because he was like, he's too mad, he's
I don't
too
want him as
crazy.
the hand of the
I don't
king.
want to. So you shouldn't do your brother, and he's gonna get rid of Otto.
I mean, Otto's not a good guy to have as your hand.
I think
because-
he's a good hand. He's a good hand.
If it's Otto as your granddad is maybe a good thing because you're kind of part Hightower also, so you're like, this is my family. But Otto's looking out for number one, dude. Otto also has like a son, and I would be worried about like, is Otto trying to manipulate so that his son?
I thought his son and maybe
We saw him in the first season during the
jousting.
Yeah,
I thought he died
tournament.
during the
No, he
jousting.
didn't die. Just like got knocked off his
Oh.
horse pretty bad.
Okay, so he's just a loser.
And he's always going to look out for his family, right?
Yeah,
Which
Otto-
technically
well-
Aegon is in, but
And Otto's like looking out for himself. I mean, he looks out for his family by pimping out his daughter.
So is Loras,
It can't
right?
be.
Right. Well, Larys is definitely looking out for himself. Larys had kind of sat by while the rest of his family was killed.
Can it not be the guy that likes licking toes?
Laris?
Loras. Yeah.
Do you
that
want,
Loras.
but do you want that guy as your
I
hand?
wanted to stay Otto. 'Cause
little
it make
creep?
it. No, of course I don't. And
Laris
and
is
I
like,
bet he knows.
my order of the king, open-toed sandals for everybody.
And I don't want it to be Sir Kristen Cole because I just don't want Sir Kristen Cole to get anything
You
in
do
life.
not want that maniac
Yeah.
as your hand.
I don't want him literally always pressuring me to be like, you should probably just kill that girl that broke your heart, dude.
Yo, that girl's a lesbian. You need to kill her.
You
dude.
need to-
Cole can't be the hand of the king because he's already the tongue of the queen.
Whoa!
Write that down.
Boom.
Write that down. He's write that
Boom.
down. He wrote that down.
Tongue in the queen.
He wrote
Good
that down.
Lord.
He wrote
Good
that
Lord.
down. Let's make that
Hey.
into shirts.
He's technically the queen now, right? Because you are what you eat.
Hey, oh, let's go!
I can't hear Dashiell, but I assume you like that one.
God damn. God damn.
And one last point, and this is probably something we're going to be on watch for in this series. One big change from the book that happened last season was Laenor. This was Rhaenyra's first husband, who in the book dies. Capital D dies. In the show, he absconds
with his
away on
lover,
his boat
yeah.
with his lover, right? And his dragon, Sea Smoke, is just kind of chilling in Driftmark being sad, right? He's just like, where'd he go? Doesn't he love me?
take me?
Do we think Laenor's going to come back? I mean,
They invoked him in this episode,
Yeah, they said
right?
his name.
When he's talking to Alan, he brings
Right.
up his son. They wouldn't keep bringing him up if he's not going to come back, right?
I
There
mean,
there was so many mysteries about like what could have happened and what could have been, and I let that man be happy and off with his
Right.
lover. Let us forget that but also I don't want him to have that peace because Rhaenyra never got that peace. Like his uncle basically died screaming at his bastard kids. Like
those kids are bastards! So good.
that scene.
That's
I remember that episode. Love it. I said rewind it. Rewind it. Let me watch this one more time.
bastards!
That guy acted his heart
Oh,
out. I
so
don't think he was
good.
actually acting.
Go back and give him the Emmy. Ugh.
Literally. But it's like, I don't want him to have that peace. So I do
Right,
kind of
right.
want him to come back and maybe, like, he's the worst right now. He's distraught. He's like, not only did I lose my partner,
Yeah, if his
I need
lover
money.
dies or something like that, or, you know, maybe he just gets tired of being on the run working boats and he's like, I want to come back and fight for my family. I don't know.
Also, karma. They killed an innocent man to make it look
That's
like
right.
he died.
Yeah.
So
And you mentioned earlier the connection between dragon riders and their dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Again, everybody's going to need probably all their dragons.
Yeah.
And when you got one just sitting over there that nobody else can ride, maybe it's worth trying to find him.
that
you
is
know?
true. That is when shit hits the fan, they're gonna be like, we need to find him.
Yeah, it's important to remember that there are, there's some riderless dragons right now, both because their riders are dead and they were never reclaimed, and there's like wild dragons around Dragonstone that, they've been mentioned before. And we do know, Daemon has stolen some eggs before, and he's gone into the Dragonmount to find eggs. There's dragons in the Dragonmount that are unclaimed. So all of these dragons are going to come into play, but it'll be interesting to see the changes they make as this show goes on from what happens in
You
the book.
think if you're like a dragon, you'd rather be free and eat whatever you want and mess things up instead of being served sometimes a sheep? And
Yeah.
then have to let people ride on your back all day.
Yeah, I guess, but you probably get like a rub down by like the
Yeah.
dudes who work in the Dragon Mount and the Dragon Pit and stuff like that.
But
They
then
massage you.
And then you kill. But you could.
You're like
kill
a
them.
you're like a stallion. You know what I mean? Like a
Or like a
racehorse.
nice Kobe beef.
Ooh, yeah.
Do you think if they went far enough, they would find like some whales or something to just eat?
Oh, yeah.
Because just do that. Just go
Oh,
have
for
fun
sure.
doing that. I don't want to
Yeah.
stay over here with humans yelling at me, making me go to war.
Yeah, you can eat a
against
whale every now
Vagar,
and then.
that big ass stupid one.
That old bitch.
That old man. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He's just like, I'm just gonna attack the first thing
He's
I
like,
see.
I thought it was a bird. I didn't know it was another dragon. What do you want me to do? It was so tiny.
I don't know if they discuss it on the show, but I do know that they do discuss it in the book. There's different types of dragons that do different types of shit, and there's dragons that just literally eat other dragons.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's Vagar. That's
Yeah.
Vagar. There's dragons that literally will go hunt for the eggs and eat it, or just
Yeah.
eat another dragon.
I do love, like, one more thing. Like, is it Otto says to Aemond, like, you and Vagar are the strongest single weapon in
Yeah.
the kingdom.
And they
something
are.
like that, right?
They are.
Yeah, I mean, the irony of it, Vhagar is the strongest single weapon
Sure,
in the kingdom,
sure.
right? You happen to be the
But
one that
Aemon
rides
has
him, right?
control of Vhagar. A little bit
Does
of
he
control.
have control?
He has the most amount of control anyone has
He
over
said,
Vhagar.
yes, I said attack. Go ahead.
And remember,
Eat
he
that
stole that dragon because that was Bela and Rhaena's mother's dragon, and he stole that dragon out
Yeah.
from underneath Bela.
I mean, he lost an eye for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
He lost an eye for it, and then he
It cost
killed
him
his nephew for it.
So we're all good. Wrapped up. No problem there.
Speaking of
everyone's
wrapping
good.
up.
Yes, as we do for each and every after show, we love to play a little game every week. For this series, we're going to play the who's up and who's down in the power rankings, the greens or the blacks. Who do you guys think has the most power right now? Are the blacks up? Are the greens up? Who's running things right now?
By the end of this episode, I think the Greens are going to be up because
Okay.
they just lost a baby. And to the people, when they see a baby died, like an innocent little newborn
If the greens
baby,
tell the small folk, hey, they just killed
well,
a baby.
I feel like people, it's going to get out that
Right,
a baby
right.
died.
Yeah.
The king is not going to let that go
Yeah.
slyly.
I think for the exact same reason, I feel the opposite. And this is now, the blacks have made the most recent power move,
Mm-hmm.
right? To kill the heir to the throne. Not only that, they did it. I got into your house. We don't need to do a big dragon battle out in a battlefield with a bunch of
Right.
soldiers, right? Like, we can get you wherever.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what a mind warping power
Mm-hmm.
move that is for, this new king and the whole family, right? Like, the insecurity, we know they're already replacing house staff and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, the paranoia this is going to spur within the Greens, I feel like, is a big benefit to the blacks.
I want to argue only that they're now both equally crazy because she's still she's like, I still lost a son, and also Daemon's just a crazy person. He's just always
Yeah.
going to be crazy. And now it's like, oh, now we made the king crazy. So now it's like a balance of both families.
Because before
are insane.
Aegon's pissed, but he's like, I get to drink wine, hang out with my friends,
I think in
goof
the-
off. But now he's gonna be like, now I'm pissed and I want to take action.
They didn't really explore it in this, but in the book, I remember Aegon immediately, everyone's like, why did you kill the son? Now we have to deal with the other family with a dead baby. And Aegon was like, I see this as a win. He was like, whatever, I'm over this.
You mean Daemon?
No, Aegon, when the brother killed, Vhagar killed Luke.
Aemon kills Luke.
Aemon kills Luke. He comes back to the castle in the
And he's
book.
like-
Everyone's like, why did you do
Yeah.
that? Except for Aegon. His brother's like, we just went up.
He was like, good job, bro.
He's like, I don't care.
Yeah, I think Team Black's definitely up right now in power. I like this little move. It was a whoopsie daisy for a oops, my bad, because neither side intended to commit this exact murder. But an exact murder would happen on each side, and now they have to deal with it. And I do think that the Greens are going to be in a real oh no. And I think Aegon is such a bad leader compared to both Rhaenyra and Daemon.
Yeah.
Even though Daemon is hungry for violence, they're both better leaders than Aegon is.
Yeah.
And now the Greens are stuck with Aegon having all this power, and they kind of just have to keep propping him up
I
and
just think
supporting him.
I think there's gonna be some people that are gonna switch sides to Team Green.
Oh, I think so,
because,
too.
Just because a baby got murdered.
Yeah, they're not gonna like these tactics.
Because they could say oh, this was an accident between
Right.
dragons. They were dancing with fighting dragons.
And this time you could argue that Luke's an adult, right?
Yeah,
As
exactly.
a 13-year-old, he's like an adult.
Exactly.
You
Well,
know,
he
these
did.
were
He
adults
owned.
fighting.
Didn't he
Yeah.
already own Castle? Whatever. He already owned a piece of.
Well, he was
something?
always gonna own Driftmark when Corlys was
Driftmark.
dead. He was like, please don't give me Driftmark. I don't want to be.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying they're gonna
Yeah.
feel way worse about
Yeah, yeah.
a literal baby versus.
Oi, they killed a baby.
They beheaded a baby.
Did you hear about it? They killed a baby.
Where's the head?
How am I supposed to bet on children tonight fighting with this sadness in me head?
Well, looks like there's a new job for a catcher.
Oh, I guess I'll get myself a rat catching job. It'll be better than my shit eating job I currently have.
You're eating shit?
Yes, I get paid 2 crowns a day to eat shit.
How does it? Who's paying you to eat that shit?
Oh, who's paying me? The men who run the sewers, because they don't want all that shit in their sewers, so they're paying me to eat it.
Oh, what happens after you eat the shit?
I go into the ocean, and then I shit that shit into the ocean.
Damn.
You know what Austin Butler feels about that shit, Evie?
What is
Hey,
it?
mama.
Oh, baby. Oh, no.
Oh, mama, I can't eat this big old log.
Oh, mama, there's a whole lot of shit eating going on.
Better put that piece of shit on some Wonder Bread with some peanut butter and
What is
marshmallow fluff.
Oh, what you want me to say? Dracarys?
Hey, mama, what you cares, baby?
Light that fire, baby. Dracarys, baby.
Oh, look at that big old baby. That's huge dragon, baby.
man.
Oh,
Dude,
mama.
Elvis would be.
No, was it some kind of Bene Gesserit?
What, some kind of blood mages or something like that? Ooh, Bubba, you seen that dragon mount? Ooh, take me to Dragonstone.
Went to throw a party in the dragon's dome.
Vermouth over there, he was about to roar. Then came Sea Smoke, he ain't got no guy. Everybody get in the sky to fly, let's rock. Whole body, let's rock. Well, that's it for us today. Make sure to. I'm eating a lot of hair.
You said the Benny Gesserit.
Oh, Mama's a Bene Gesserit. Yeah, some sort of Bene Gesserit. God, remember Dune Part 2?
Yeah.
Let's go back. Hey, make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right
Oh,
here.
sorry, I just heard a great term. I'm a Dune goon. I love Dune. I want it on multiple screens in my house.
In my Dune Goon Cave?
You guys ever been to the Dune Boon Cave?
Holy shit, that's a whole
That's the
different.
Dune Boon.
That's a whole different level
Hey,
of
yo.
cave right there.
Hey, Paul Atreides out there getting that Dune poon, you know what I'm talking about?
Hey, I'm Paul Atreides.
That's not hope! That's not hope! Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube and give us a follow on Twitch where we do videos like this live. Make sure to follow at BreakroomNR on all our social channels, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Twitch, everything. We'll catch you next time. Dracarys!
Dracarys.